Well, good morning and welcome to the Great Transition Senior Living Series of Central Florida. My name is Beth Lagula. We are delighted to welcome you here today. We are going to be talking about the truth about providing your family with the perfect gift. It's gift-giving season just around the corner, and so we thought that this topic would be very appropriate. We are delighted to welcome our online community via Facebook Live. Thank you for being here. If through the course of the seminar you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will do our best to address those during the seminar or at some point soon thereafter. Great Transitions was founded in 2013 by Paul and Lynn Henderson, intended to guide seniors during one of life's biggest transitions. It's a system for working with older adults and their families as their lifestyle and housing needs change. Now that can be 12 to 18 months of preparation time, or an event can expedite that process and make it much quicker. And that's why having a plan is so important. We're here to guide you through the entire process. We genuinely believe that helping and guiding seniors is our greatest responsibility. It is an honor and a privilege to give back to those who have helped and guided us for so long. That is the Great Transitions way. So our objective with this seminar is very simple. It's just to educate people. We talk about legal, financial, medical, housing, and other general items of interest to older adults. We're not here to try and sell you anything, but we do ask that you ask yourself a question, actually a couple of questions. Who's going to be tasked with making the decisions for you when you're no longer able to do so for yourself? Will you agree with the decisions that they make? And finally, have you shared your plan with your trusted advisors or loved ones? So those are things to think about as we progress through the seminar today. With that said, I'd like to get started. So we're going to be tackling a kind of tough topic today. We're talking about late in life and end of life decisions. And that can be a little bit challenging for some people, but we want to provide you with information you need to fully stay in control of your life and your decisions. And as we age, the one task that we are faced with is leaving our legacy as time gets a little bit shorter. A recent statistic shows that 21% of people reported that they have not had the conversation with concerning end-of-life planning with their loved ones because they don't want to upset them. I was dealing with this recently, and it's hard to talk about these kind of things because, let's be honest, it's just scary. So today our panelists are going to help walk us through what that might look like, because we know that if we have more information, it's easier to talk about these things. And so with that said, I'd like to introduce you to our two panelists. First, I'd like to introduce Laura Ramirez. She is the Director of Market Development for Vitas Hospice. She's been with them for 4 years, in healthcare, senior healthcare for 8 years though. Prior to working with Vitas, she worked in skilled nursing communities, helping people navigate the challenges that come with skilled nursing. She has a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration from that giant university just down the road, UCF. And we are very excited to have you here. I asked Laura, she's younger in case you didn't notice, than most of us in the room. And I said, what ignited your passion in helping seniors or older adults? And she shared with me that she had not spent a lot of time with her grandmother growing up, and it was a wonderful opportunity for her to connect and to become family with some older adults. And so that, I just thought that was really cool. So we're really glad you're here today, Laura.
Yes.
And next to Laura, we have Dr. Christina Doe. She also is with VITAS. She is an Associate Medical Director and Team Physician for VITAS Healthcare here in Central Florida. She provides clinical care for hospice and palliative patients. She leads our nurse practitioners in their goals of care programs and provides them with continuous education with an end goal of having them all certified in hospice and palliative care. Dr. Doe has a heart for hospice and palliative care. She cares deeply for the patients and families that benefit from the services at VITAS. She's a key player within the VITAS organization, and her dedication and drive are what set VITAS apart from others. So I think you'll agree with me that we've got two great panelists to talk to us today about hospice. This is a very scary topic because I don't know about you, but we do I'll tell you, we do a pre-interview with our panelists and we talk about what we're going to talk about. And I learned so much in that pre-interview that really opened my mind to what hospice can provide. So let's kind of get started with that, Dr. Doe. Can you tell us what is hospice and who is hospice geared for?
Yes, so good morning, and first of all, thank you so much to our veterans. It's an honor for me to be here in your presence. We at VITAS, we say we honor veterans every day. So when she mentioned, I was very happy for that. So thank you to all of you. Hospice. So hospice is a benefit from Medicare. Everybody that you know that we all gonna go through this process, but not many people know of this benefit. The benefit says that a person that's terminally ill and has a prognosis of life of less than 6 months, they can get this benefit. So who says, okay, I don't know, and some doctors might not know, but we are here and we educate the community. We go to doctors' offices, we tell them, this is the criteria, these are the guidelines, this is what Medicare is saying, that if you have this minimum, you can get the benefit. So, for example, we have end-stage heart disease, end-stage lung disease, we have end-stage dementia and cancer. At the beginning of time, hospice meant you had days of life. So the benefit was only for people that were on their deathbed. But now the laws have changed. So if you have 6 months of life or less, you are entitled for this benefit. So for example, end-stage dementia. You have a family member, or you get to the point, your family members can ask your primary caregiver, your doctor, I need more help. Can my family member apply for the benefit? The least we can ask is that the person has dependency on the basic necessities, for example, bathing, dressing, toileting. So most of us are gonna, get to the point where, we are weak, somebody needs to help us dress, so at that point, you can benefit from the hospice benefit. Doesn't mean that you're gonna die in 6 months, but at least you meet the minimum criteria to have extra help for your family members, for yourself. So the hospices is a team. We have chaplains, social workers, nurses, doctors, We go to the patient's home, and we're gonna talk about the facilities and where we visit. And for example, we help you, the family member, bathe the patient. Maybe they cannot do it because they're themselves weak. We help them with bathing. I'm a team physician. I go to the patient's home. How you doing? Do you have problems with pain? Are you short of breath? So we go to give the care to the home. We are doctors that go to the home of the patient. Like back then when the doctors used to visit the homes, that's what I do. I go to the patient's home. Let's say another criteria is end-stage heart disease. Your heart needs to have a specific ejection fraction for you to apply, or have a symptom that your heart is giving you continuous or recurring chest pain, or you have shortness of breath when you do something. We have certain criteria that is the minimum. And most people, they apply, and then they are more than 6 months. As long as you are declining, you can be with us for 2 years or more. As long as we document legally through Medicare, there's a little decline, this patient is getting more short of breath, this patient is getting more weak, we can prove that you might have from today, maybe you work with us 4 months, but from today you still have a prognosis of less than 6 months of life. So it's not necessarily people say, I'm getting into hospice, it's a bad connotation, but no, we help people sometimes for years.
Awesome. So it can be even a rolling 6 months.
Yes. As long as we prove to Medicare that there is decline, that you're not improving and running marathons, that you are declining, that the person is declining, then we can prove and document legally that that person is not improving.
Right.
Yeah, and it says hospice care year 4 for everybody. We have even a pediatrician. We have kids in hospice. So they have a terminal illness, and we help the families. With kids, it's a different benefit where they can have aggressive treatment. They can still get all the treatment in the hospital, but they have extra support from us.
That's awesome.
So yes, we have our kids.
And I think we don't often think of that wide of an age range when we think of hospice.
Yes.
So that is awesome. We may not all need hospice care, certainly, and I don't know if the conversation about hospice can be had very much in advance with someone, but when the time comes, how do we start that conversation, Dr. Doan, with our family to say, I think this might be something we need to look at, because my parents are older, and if they came to me and said we need to talk about hospice, I'd be like, wait, what? Right? That's very scary to me. So how do we approach that with our family members?
It is, and this is why we're doing this, because we're trying to educate you. We're trying to educate the community. We're doing all the time events. If you have the education, you're gonna have to have this conversation. But if you don't know, how can you start even the conversation? And I think it's out of respect that you do it with your family members, because you have to tell them your wishes. If you don't start, then how will they know what your wishes are? So it is very scary, but with education, then you can sit and say, this is what I want, this is my goals of care, this is what I want for the end of my life. And it's never too early. It's never too early. You can start today. It's not when the time comes. That time is very emotional. That time you cannot think. Your family member are going through a lot. And even to your kids, what are your wishes? I have mine. I have mine written, and we're going to talk about the 5 wishes. Even to your kids, let's sit down. I sat my whole family. I said, let me know, you're going to fill this booklet, and let me know what are your wishes, because we never know. Mm-hmm. We have young patients. I just had a patient, 32-year-old, end-stage cancer, and she passed away. So we all gonna die. So let's have the conversation as soon as possible. Let's educate ourselves. Let's tell our kids, what are your wishes? It's hard conversations, but it's never too early.
So that could be a component then. Many of the downsizers, we worked on our Go books, our binders with all of that information in there. That's a great section in our binders to put in there, what we want, so that our family or trusted advisors can go to that and take a look at it.
Because you plan for the financial, you say, okay, this is, my power of attorney, these are my financial decisions, but your healthcare decisions is not there in that paper.
Yeah.
So you have to do it in a separate paper. You have to educate yourself and say, okay, what is it that I need to do to prepare for that moment? And do not leave the responsibility for your kids. Because you already decided yourself what is going to happen.
Seminar over. That's what we call a mic drop. Awesome, thank you. Thank you. We all got to figure that. So along those lines, before I've got some questions for Laura, but how do I know when it's time? And I think you've kind of addressed this a little bit. Does the doctor take the lead on suggesting hospice, or do I take the lead on suggesting hospice?
Both. So some doctors, I was a family medicine, I had my clinic. Some doctors don't feel comfortable with the conversation, and it is the truth. So that's why, as hospice is getting more known, I don't know if you heard Jimmy Carter on the news. He is like our hero because, we're trying to educate the whole United States, and hospice is growing, the philosophy, the idea. So as much as we grow, and I forgot now the question.
Is our doctor going to suggest
hospice,
or
yeah. So
do we go to the doctor?
As more as we educate and the idea becomes more normalized, then everybody's going to feel comfortable talking about it. But we are getting there. We're trying to educate everybody, and doctors can write the referral. If they feel that maybe you don't know, the community doesn't know what hospice is, they will talk to you and they will say, I believe that you can benefit from hospice. They can bring it up, but they don't have to. You yourself can call hospice company and say, I need more information. Can you tell me what you offer? Can you tell me if I'm a patient that can be benefited from it? Sometimes it's too early. We're like, no, you don't qualify, but when you get to this point and this is what we offer, we can just give you a talk. And if you qualify, then we call your doctor out of courtesy and we say, Doctor so-and-so, your patient wants to be in hospice. Do you agree? Are you in agreement? Most of the doctors say yes. If they say, no, I don't think it's a hospice patient, but you meet the criteria, you still can come with hospice. Because you may yourself refer, or your daughter, or your son, or your cousin, that anybody can call hospice company.
Okay, that's great. And it is ultimately your decision to make, despite what we were talking a little bit earlier. There are a lot of doctors that want to fix and make you well and make you stronger and all that, and maybe, or maybe not, that's right for you. And so I think hospice, just being able to have the conversation with hospice, I think is...
I have had patients that are in stage cancer, and they say, if I would have known, I would have never done this. If I would have known, and I said, well, you have to have the conversation with your specialist, because ultimately it's your decision, it's not their decision. They can say, we're gonna do this, but if you're educated, you're gonna say, no, this is my decision, and I don't wanna go through this, I want to do this. You're empowered, nobody can force you to do anything, but you have to know what are your options.
100%. Laura, can you talk about the different levels of hospice care, what that looks like?
So there are 4 different levels of hospice care. There's a big misconception that hospice is a place where you go to spend those final days of life. But hospice is a service. So we are able to offer hospice care in your home, whether that's with your family, at an assisted living facility, independent, or a skilled nursing facility. There are even situations where someone lives in their vehicle and we are able to provide services in a vehicle because that is their home. Now, the 4 levels of care, the most common known is routine level. So this is when you come on services and your symptoms are at baseline, you're comfortable, so that's routine. Let's say within 72 hours you start to experience some sort of pain, nausea, exacerbations. The goal of hospice is to keep you at home and out of the hospital. So when you are experiencing these symptoms, we have the ability to start what we call continuous care. And this is when we're able to bring a practitioner, a nurse, a home health aide to the bedside to keep you at home and help manage these symptoms. Sometimes it's for 8 hours, sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's 48 hours, but that is what we call continuous care. We bring someone to your bedside to help not just you, but also your family member overcome the situation together, because it can be an overwhelming scenario. So we have routine care so far, continuous care. Then we have what we call general inpatient care. There are times, sadly, where hospice is approached when someone is at the hospital and they're so weak that getting them home is just not possible. The hospitalists know that putting them in the ambulance and try to get them home, it's not going to do anything for them. So general inpatient care happens in a hospital setting, and we bring hospice to the hospital. And then our last one is our inpatient unit. So there are hospice houses, so that's how I started. But to go into a hospice house, that is not permanent placement. That is temporary care. And again, it's based on the symptoms that you are experiencing. And all these symptoms are through Medicare guidelines. So I said earlier, if you are experiencing shortness of breath, if you have extreme nausea, delirium, rather than having you go to a hospital, we can safely transfer you to an inpatient unit where you'll get around-the-clock care from a physician, a nurse, a chaplain. We have, what did I miss? Physician, nurse, home health aide, chaplain.
Physician.
Did I say that one? So they're there around the clock, so it's kind of like a mini hospital, but you're not going into a hospital because there is no feeling like being at home. We will do our best to keep you home, but there are those last-minute scenarios where families like, I can't do this at home right now. We feel comfortable, and then we think the best thing is going into an inpatient unit. So those are the 4 levels of care.
Okay. Talk to us, Laura, a little bit about, there are a couple of different, in our greater Orlando area, there are a couple of different hospice providers. Are there differences among hospice providers? Is it just geographical? How does that work?
So it is geographical. Hospices are based on a certificate of need, so it's based on counties. Certain hospices can only go into specific counties. Depending if you live in Seminole County, there's only 2 hospices there. If you live in Orange County, I believe there's 5. In Osceola, there's also 5 different options. So that's one difference. The other difference is the expanded team that we have. So all hospices are required to have, and I'm going to repeat myself, they're all required to have a chaplain, they're all required to have a physician, they're all required to have a home health aide and a social worker. But there are hospices that do more than that. Some have respiratory therapists. We touched on a pediatric team. There are hospices that have child life specialists. We also have some that do pet programs. So there are pet volunteers that go into the homes. And there's been a lot of studies that show how a dog, a cat can help calm the anxiety, ease that individual. So that's part of the expanded team that not every hospice does have.
Okay, so if you're making that call to just get information, you may want to ask some of those questions around some of the differences that, and if I said, if I were calling it and I could say, well, what makes you different? I live in Seminole County, what makes you different than the other hospice if I call them?
Just like when you're gonna go buy a home, when you're gonna go find a new PCP, you do your research, you wanna ask questions like, why should I come to you? What do you do different? Ask those same questions when you are reaching out to hospice providers, because they're not all the same.
Okay. I think, Laura, you've touched on this, but Dr. Doe, I don't know if you can expand on exactly what hospice care entails. And my question was, where does it typically take place? I guess that depends.
Yeah, it depends on where you live. It depends on where you live, what you call home.
Yeah, most of the patients, they want to be home. They don't want to be in a hospital. And some patients, they cannot take care of you. The family cannot take care of you at home. So it's everybody's individual case by case. Studies say that most people want to be home. So we bring the services to your home. The HHA can come up to 5 times a week to help you with your basic needs. The nurse mandatory is once a week, so you're gonna have a nurse visiting you once a week. And doctor depends once a month or as needed. If I need to go to your home 3 times a week, I go to your home 3 times a week. But everybody's different. Most people want to be home, and that's what we want, for people to be home. But we have options too.
Okay. What if someone has no direct heirs? So there's no family. How does that work and play into things? If you don't have family, are you just contacting hospice on your own and saying, this is what I want, and putting together, does a social worker step in that case?
How do you want me, I can answer it. So, the first piece when we have someone that is on their own, it's making that decision, is this person alert, orient, and understands what they are signing themselves up for. If that is a given and it's decided amongst the team that this patient does know what they want to do, then we bring them on services. As they decline, we do have social workers on our services, and we have caseworkers too that work together and collaborate to make that decision. Okay, this individual is declining. It is no longer safe for them to be home alone. Despite we increase the visit frequency, like she said, sometimes we have home health aides that go into the home 5 days a week. They're not there all day. They're probably there for an hour and a half. That's not enough to take care of someone if they are getting sicker. So between our social workers and our caseworkers, we help this individual get all their financial ducks in a row to find a facility that is safe and close to them. Part of our caseworker's job is doing the Medicaid application to go into a lot of skilled nursing facilities in the area where you get that 24-hour care. You need to go through the Medicaid process to find a home, or if you can afford it, just out of pocket. So our caseworkers help with that part, and then the social workers have relationships throughout all of Central Florida where they can call a social worker in a skilled nursing facility or have a relationship with someone in an assisted living facility, and they ask them, hey, I have this gentleman with this age, these are his conditions, these are his needs. Do you think this is a good fit for him to move into your community? So yeah, we do have those resources.
So I love how that social worker then can become a part of your all-star team. We talk about building our village, the people that help us navigate these decisions, and it sounds like you guys partner with. Did you want to add something there?
Yeah, I wanted to add, even if the person is a skilled nursing home and they have nurses 24/7, we still can go check on them. It's like a 2 eyes. So they have the doctor.
Supplemental.
Yeah, they have the doctor in the facility, but we also come and check on them. So they have double services.
And that would apply if someone's in a continuing care community, like the Mayflower.
Correct. Same thing.
Okay.
We're your supplement, we're an extension of them, so whatever they're already doing, we come in and we add to that. Same as at home, if you already have your daughter or your son taking care of you, they're gonna continue doing their piece, and we just add on to that, so it's just more care for you.
Great, great. Laura, can you speak to the costs of hospice care?
Well, this is an easy one, it's free.
Okay.
It is free.
For you.
Yes, for you. There is no cost at all. I'll speak VITAS. We work specifically with every single insurance, and we even work with individuals that don't have insurance. Once you start services, and this is for all hospices, your medications that are related to that diagnosis which you have been brought onto care is covered at 100%. Any medical equipment. So if you are needing oxygen, if you are needing a wheelchair, a walker, Once you get to the point where you need a hospital bed, covered at 100%. You have no cost going on to hospice.
Amazing. I don't know of anything that's that free. So, that's awesome.
I think she has a question, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Well, let us get through the questions if you don't mind. If you'll jot down your question, we'll have a Q&A time at the end, if that's okay? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so this kind of expands on that, Dr. Doe, about supplies and medications that somebody needs. Is my primary doctor weighing in on that, or is that strictly up to the hospice doctor? And I think, obviously those things are free, we just learned that, but how is that navigated?
So when you are brought in for hospice, we have to have a diagnosis. It depends, like I said, heart, lungs, dementia, cancer. If you have other diagnoses that are not related to that cancer, let's say you have end-stage heart disease, but you also want to take your medications for your thyroid. It's not related to the terminal diagnosis, and you can still go to your doctor and get your medications not related, which are gonna go through Part D, I think it is, of Medicare. You're gonna still go through your primary. Some patients say, okay, I'm not gonna take any more of those medications, and you will be my primary, you will be my attending. So we can also be the PCP. But most patients, they still want to go to their primary. They love their primary and they want to go to their office. So they can still get the other medications that are not related to the terminal through them, if you wish.
Okay.
And the supplies, she already answered. We own our own company, we own the equipment. So whatever you need, we're there the same day. So if you need a bed, you have it the same day. If you need oxygen, you have it there. Because we own our, like if you see the trucks, they're all over, we own that.
Our warehouse is not far from here, so yeah, all of our equipment is there.
Okay, so you're not relying on a third-party contractor to come
It's all
out and
owned.
bring the equipment. Love that, love that. Laura, we've talked a lot about the services that hospice provides to the patient. What about the family?
Yeah. Most of the time, people go on to hospice because they think it's for them, and I can say that we actually do more for that family than sometimes we do for that patient. Once that individual passes away, hospice provides bereavement support for up to 12 to 13 months. So hospice does not end when that individual passes. It continues on for a full other year. The grieving process is different for everyone. Sometimes it happens right away, it takes a couple weeks, it takes a couple months, so that's why we kind of handhold you through those 13 months. Additionally, while the individual is still alive and they're on with us, we have the chaplain, again, to provide that psychosocial support. The chaplains that come in, whether you're religious, non-denominational, they work with everyone. Social workers, if you don't have funeral arrangements in place, they're going to help you with that. They help you finalize those documents, 5 wishes. Do you want to be a full code? Do you want to be a DNR? That's all that we talk about with the patient. With the family.
What is full code and DNR?
So DNR, do not resuscitate. So you are saying that if your heart were to stop, and you were to go to the hospital, you're not getting chest compressions. You're choosing out of chest compressions.
And intubation.
And intubation. Well, and when you are full coded, then it's the complete opposite. You are choosing to be intubated and have chest compressions. I'm not a physician, but Dr. Doe is, and she can kind of speak on the TVs, they make it look very easy, like it's not harmful. But I've walked into ERs before in my role, and I have seen chest compressions happen, and it's not easy on the body. So, again, they break your bones.
Yeah. So when we are saying that you have a terminal illness and it's advanced and your prognosis is of less than 6 months of life, but you still want to do this aggressive, if my heart stops, I want to do chest compressions. What the statistics say is that when your body is weak and debilitated for you to survive that traumatic experience of even breaking bones and putting in intubation for the tube to do it for yourself, you get weaker. And you were already in a debilitated state. So you are trying to, some people do it out of, they don't know what it is and they want everything to be done because I want to live. But you have to know that when you have a terminal illness of less than 6 months of life, the prognosis, if that were to happen to you, where the heart stops, is already. Exactly. So we in the company, we accept people that they want to be full code, they want to be resuscitated, and they want to be intubated. We do accept. Some hospices, you have to be a DNR to be accepted into the
So you
services.
can be either.
So you can ask that question. You can say, what about if I still want this? What about, and so it depends on the company.
Okay.
And just to kind of finish off, we don't just provide care for the adult families, we provide care for the grandchildren, the children. Like she was saying, we had a 32-year-old the other day, don't know the whole backstory, but I'm guessing a 32-year-old may have had a couple of the younger kids. We have a child life specialist. Child life specialists focus on the children, making memories, understanding what death is and what's going to happen in a level that they understand. And they do projects with them, they guide them, whether it's they're having a happy moment, a sad moment, they work with them to get through this stage in life with their grandparent or their parent. So that's something else that's
Awesome.
provided.
I did not realize that hospice had services for all ages
All
of the
ages, yeah.
family. And I think that's great. I used to do children's ministry, and conversations with young kids are fantastic. They understand things on a level that we put too much thought into. And so I think that's great that that's a service that you provide.
And the child life specialist piece, that's something that is different. It's not required by Medicare, so that that's what we were saying earlier, when you are reaching out to these hospice providers, ask them, what type of care do you have for my family when I'm gone, or for my kids and grandkids? Because not every hospice company offers that.
Okay, that's great. So we've talked a lot around the conversation. I feel a little more empowered. But what if it's still just too difficult to have this conversation? I mean, they say the only thing certain in life is death and taxes, and I think taxes aren't even certain. You could not pay those. What if I just can't bring myself to have the conversation, or my family or trusted advisors put up I don't want to hear this from you? How do we get around it? Because it is an emotional thing. And I think maybe speaking to some of the tools that you offer, like 5 Wishes, how is that integrated? So either one.
So, 5 Wishes is huge. I know earlier you said how I'm younger. So yes, I am, but I learned through 8 years of being in healthcare that life can change instantly. I recently got married. I don't have any kids, but guess what? I already have a 5 Wishes set up. I have it all. My husband and I are figuring everything out. My mom is in her 60s. I don't want something to happen to me and her not know what my wishes are. I don't want something to happen to me and my husband not know what my wishes are. So I think it's having that level of understanding between what 5 Wishes are, what your goals are, and being very transparent. That's what it narrows down to, communication and transparency. You want to be open about all of this, whether it's easy or it's not. You don't want to put that burden on someone else. We at VITAS, we do offer 5 Wishes, of course, but there's a program, the Goals of Care program, where, like you said, there are a lot of people that are not ready to talk about this because it's such a difficult conversation. A Goals of Care is usually handled by a nurse practitioner that comes in and talks to you and your loved ones for hours if it has to be about what your goals are. Because we, like you said, we're all going to get there. So it's important to have that clear. So it's not specifically talking about hospice, it's just talking about what your goals are. So that's an approach that is offered, Goals of Care approach.
And I'm really grateful that Vitas brought 5 wishes, so everyone can take a copy. Some of you probably already have one, but if you don't, we encourage you to take a copy. I'm going to ask a couple of our educational partners to come up to the front of the room, because we're going to open up the floor for some questions. So as they come up, and I'm going to ask you guys to stand over here if you would. You, on your note sheet or whatever, we did things a little differently today. We've got some myths and truths on your sheet. We also have a feedback sheet. So we encourage you to fill out the feedback sheets. We'll be collecting those on your way out the door. But we'll take some questions. The educational partner is going to bring a microphone over to you because we want to make sure we get the questions on the recording. I'll probably even restate the question so it's really clear. Of course, Nicole will be documenting all of this in the notes that she sends out. So Patty, I know you had a question, so we'll start with you.
So you said even if you don't have insurance, and what if you don't have Medicare either? Maybe you have Medicare A. That, I presume hospice would not be an option because you have to pay your bills and stay in business with money.
Okay, so if you don't have insurance
And you don't have Medicare except Medicare A.
and you only have Medicare A, is hospice still free?
Yes,
Through who? Medicare A?
through us. Vitas will provide it through, even whether you do or do not have insurance, Vitas will provide the care. It's not a question to us. It's something that we
So
provide.
you must have some kind of, maybe a charitable
We
foundation.
do, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a nonprofit?
No, we are for-profit.
For-profit, but you have a foundation?
We have a charitable piece where that's how we're able to provide for those that do not have insurance.
Is that the same with all 5 hospices in Orange County?
No, ma'am. They're all
Okay, so
different.
that's a
That's
question
a great question, yeah.
that you want to ask. So we're going to move on. If you have some other questions, we'll come back to you, but we want to make sure we get to everybody. Joanne?
Yes, if you have a terminal diagnosis, but there's no specific time frame, the only thing that comes to mind is like ALS. There's no cure for it. Is that an instant qualifier, or is there some other criteria?
We
So
have a specific,
qualifications for terminal diagnosis.
we have guidelines, we have a book of guidelines. So ALS has a specific guidelines. So you being diagnosed doesn't make you hospice, but we have that, if you meet the minimum, then you are eligible. And we do have a lot of ALS patients.
So
Mm-hmm.
How do you find out what the criteria is? Contact you? Or?
Contact us, or your primary can contact us. Yeah, and we're offering the primaries Vitas app, where they can just open the app and it's there. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your provider that gets the Vitas app. You yourself can download this. I always encourage everyone. It's very educational. It's very user-friendly. So if you want to, you go on the app, and under ALS, there's a drop-down. You can look at what the guidelines are for that disease. Yep.
that's awesome. Super helpful. Joanne?
I think I missed some of the steps, the four levels of
The
care.
4 levels?
The 4 levels of hospice care. Can we go over those again?
Yeah. So the first one's routine care, and that's the most common used, and that's when you have, your symptoms are okay right now, you're not experiencing any pain. So that's routine. Then there's continuous care, and this is where we could bring someone to the bedside for a variety of hours, a couple of days sometimes if need be. Then there's general inpatient care, and that's within a hospital. That's when you're so weak that you can't leave the hospital, it's really not safe. And then the last one is inpatient. So sometimes it's a hospice house or it's an inpatient unit.
And if you were inpatient, do you ever, is that like a respite care or?
So it's temporary, it's not permanent.
Okay.
There are times where you go there for a couple of days, and once your symptoms are managed and they're settled, then we're gonna get you back home to routine care. So it is under a temporary basis.
Gotcha.
And let me add on the respite care also.
Oh, yeah, respite is one of them, correct? Yeah, so respite, and I apologize, I didn't mention that one earlier. So respite is when you can go into a skilled nursing facility for up to 5 days. Let's say your daughter is your main caregiver and VITAS is as well supplemental, but your daughter's going to have a procedure herself and she can't be at home with you because she's going to be recovering at the hospital. Then we can help facilitate going into a skilled nursing facility at no cost for up to 5 days, and there is no limit onto how often you can do that within a year.
Okay.
So maybe it's not a procedure, maybe they're going out of town, they're going on a cruise, and they still want to ensure that you're getting the best care, then that is the respite level of care.
Awesome. Cheryl?
Since you said there was only 2 hospice companies in Seminole County,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between you're using the word VITAS and then hospice? Is VITAS a type of hospice? Explain that.
So, yes,
Yes,
tell us a little bit about
VITAS
VITAS.
is a hospice company, and then there are other companies, VITAS is a hospice company.
In more than one county?
Yes, we are in 3 counties. VITAS is in Seminole, Orange, and Osceola. We're tri-county, and we're basically all throughout the state of Florida, and we're in 15 different states throughout the U.S.
Yeah, I was gonna add that, because let's say you, your family is in Illinois or Chicago, and you want to go visit, if we have a VITAS there, you can continue with the services while
While you're
visiting
there.
your family members.
So snowbirds, we get snowbirds all the time, right? So you want to come down here, if there's a program up north and the program is down here too, which chances are it is down here in Florida, then we ensure that you don't have any gap in care.
Yeah, or if we don't offer it in that county, then we contract with the hospice in that county so that you don't have gaps.
Okay, that's great. We had a question over here. Barry?
Really a comment. My extended family experienced the hospice support at one time, and 2 things that I can remember. One is, if it wasn't that evening, it was the following day that they arrived with all the equipment you can imagine. They moved the bed out of the way and they set up a hospital bed, and everything else that was necessary was just like that. The other thing that I recall was the taking care of the patient. They understood the rhythms of the patient in an amazing and very warm fashion, and they could communicate that to us as we were in another room, and what was happening, what needs to happen next, and so forth. That was very impressive,
So
very comforting, very supportive.
it sounds like your experience was with some very compassionate people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think Susan and I were talking about this earlier. She echoed the same when her mother was under hospice care, that it was just a very compassionate.
I always tell my nurses and all the employees, we're very lucky to do what we do. It's very rewarding because we're helping in the most vulnerable time of our lives. So we are, like I gratitude. Every morning I say, I'm so blessed to do what I do. Every day I go to patients' home and they're dying, and family is trusting us to be there in their home. We're so lucky.
That's awesome. I think we have a question back there. Joanne, what's your question?
Yeah, another Joanne.
We got a couple of you there.
I'm going into an independent living facility.
Okay,
Would there ever be a need for hospice in a place like that?
so you're going into an independent living community where you have services if you need them. How does hospice play into that?
Same way. Independent living facility is your home. So we go wherever home is needed. Whatever home is called, I apologize. So some independent living facilities are like a 3-in-1 where they have an independent piece, the ALF, memory care. We can follow to all 3. If you start needing our care in independent, but then you transition into AL, memory, VITAS, or hospice will follow you through every single stage.
Okay, so no matter where your home is, and I actually was impressed. You said you had patients that were homeless.
Yes.
So I think that's awesome and speaks to the heart behind what you do. So any other questions that you have? Dr. Doe and Laura, and also Ivana Eric, who's also with VITAS, will be around and can answer some questions. So if you have those and you want to ask them something before you leave, maybe privately or whatever, please feel free to do that. I want to remind you to fill out your blue forms because we're not going to let you leave until you turn them in. Just kidding, but not really. And the 5 wishes are up here on Nicole's table, so you can pick those up. You know, we always ask you, did we try to sell you anything today?
Nope.
Okay. And Mike?
5 wishes, I was thinking it might be a good idea to give 5 wishes to our children too. So they can fill them out in case they go before us. Where do we get them from?
I think if you can contact Laura or
Yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely enough up here, so if
Okay.
you wanna take a couple, yeah.
So maybe wait till everyone gets one, and then if there's extras, yeah, please feel free.
Okay.
Yep, it is also online, yep. that's true. You
Okay.
can also get it online.
Our tech guy, Chris, tells us that it's also online, thank you very much. Save a tree, save a tree. Did you have a question, Pearl?
The Detox app, is that the name of it?
Oh,
Yep, VITAS, VITAS.
so the app, if you want to put that on your smartphone, VITAS, VITAS, and
You can download it on Google or Android or iPhone, it works on both.
perfect, perfect. So my big question for you is the question we always ask, and Laura, you're the star,
Oh boy, okay.
because she has, you're 32, you said.
Oh, no, I'm actually 29.
Okay, 29, sorry. I
We took care of a patient that was 32.
32. Oh,
Yes, that's
okay.
okay.
got 32. Okay, she's 29 and she's filled out her 5 wishes. What is our excuse? Okay, so since we're not having a seminar next month, you just got your homework. I'm going to be looking at each of you on January when we come back and resume the seminar series and see if you started working on that. Please remember that you're our connection to the world. We do this because we love to do it. Y'all do what you do because you love to do it, and we want to share this information with as many people as we can. So invite people to come to the seminar series. We'll be sending out information very shortly on our calendar for 2024. I think you are going to love some of our topics. We're going to shake it up a little bit, and it should be a lot of fun. Your feedback is super important to us. It helps us to shape our programming, whether that's Downsizers Club. We are considering offering some special targeted topic workshops next year. So if there's something burning in your mind that you want to know about it, that blue form is where you put it so you can communicate with us what you want to learn about. Our next seminar is January 17th, 2024. Hard to say that. And we are going to be talking about wills and probates, oh my, and powers of attorney and all those things. So we're going to be talking legal stuff. So you'll definitely want to be here for that. If you want to go ahead and register, let us know on the form below. Also, if you would like, we modified this form a little bit. If you would like to set up an appointment with one of our educational partners, you can indicate that on the form as well, and we will get you connected with them. Our seminars for 2024, we're going to do quarterly series. So the first quarter is behind the scenes. So things that we might not want to talk about forward facing, some of them, but we're going to talk about them anyway in our series because that's what we do. We always have a closing quote. This one is from Kalu Ndukwe Kalu, and I love it. The things you do for yourself are gone when you are gone, but the things you do for others remain as your legacy. So I commend each of you for being here today to work on your legacy. I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, a wonderful holiday season, and we can't wait to see you in January. Take care.